I think, as always seems to happen, the most important things that you should be doing, students, is spending the first few minutes carefully reading and reflecting on what you've been asked to study, the unseen poem and the other poems as well. And the first thing I think I'd say to you is just look at that unseen poem. What can you see? Never mind the words, but how does the way that it is put together, like bricks in a wall, if you like, in a structure, that tells you something about what's going on? Is it divided up, for example, into two, where you might be thinking, are there two voices speaking to me there? Or is there a change in the story or something? That will already get you reflecting on an important aspect of the poem, which is the structure that you're going to be writing about. Only when you've done that, I suggest, you go and have a look at the anthology poems so that you can start reflecting how they might link to this and make your choice. Well, of course, you need to read the questions just as carefully as the unseen and anthology poems, because you've got to make sure you fully understood what they're asking of you. For example, in last year's paper, it talked about the bonds between parents and children and emotional responses to birth and death. Those bonds and emotional responses are really important, so make those the focus of what you're thinking and planning about when you're going to write your answer. You're not going to say everything there is to say about either of the poems, but you are going to need to focus on those particular key words of the question. Well, of course, if you want to get particularly a high-level answer, putting in lots of detail from the text is important, but it's got to be well chosen. So in your initial reading, be thinking about what are the key bits of this poem that really summarize what it's about, or perhaps where things change, where there's a sudden shift. And if that's perhaps a couple of lines, make sure when you're writing it out that you set the lines out exactly as they are printed in front of you. It shows you know this is poetry. In fact, just writing it out will help you see how it's been put together when the poet did the same thing themselves. Well, of course, that's just the kind of thing that you're learning during the course of your A-level, isn't it? And these technical terms are very useful as shorthand for the ways that poems are constructed. However, it's not good enough just to spot it and put the name down. For example, genetics is a villanelle. Good, if you remember that in the exam, it will help you think about it. But you need to show me or your examiner why that's significant. What difference does that make to your reading of the poem, how you listen to it, the voices you hear, how it might change during the course of the poem. Okay, so I think there are three things I'd like you to be thinking about. First of all, am I confident enough about my own reading strategies? Secondly, am I able to identify key features in a poem and say why they're important? And thirdly, do I know the anthology poems well enough?